What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. Okay, so I'm not going to be long in this one, but what I want to talk about is how narcissists are always on the run. And this is something that we don't think about, of course, because when we think of on the run, we think of a criminal. We think of someone who's done something they had no business doing, someone who's broken the law, and they're at large, like they used to say, at large. So we don't think that this would apply to someone who's charming, someone who just seems too good to be true, and someone who just swept us off our feet. We don't think that, you know, on the run would apply to them because what they do is trick you into thinking that, of course, they're innocent, you know, and it's just a coincidence that we cross paths and, you know, but it always did seem too good to be true when we met the narcissists. And they were so quick on their feet to make these promises, to pretty much try to match everything about us, to try to have so much in common that everything else, it just went straight over our head and we forget to really question things. They don't even allow us to really get to know them the way we should. And that's the reason. It's because they're on the run. They're running from something. They've done some bad things. And they probably recently done some bad things. I'm telling you, they have a history. They have a pattern of doing things a certain way and hurting people. And I could bet any kind of money that they've just left a town and just showed up, to a new town, just kind of uprooted and relocated. Because what narcissists do is they try to reinvent themselves. They need to feel like they're starting over fresh, even though they have a bad history behind them. They've done some things that they need to answer to. And they know that. But of course, they don't take accountability. So they don't feel as though that applies to them. They feel like, well, all I got to do is just kind of like put that out of mind, put it out of sight, relocate, start over, fresh and new, meet new people, and just leave the past behind me. But they don't never really leave the past behind them. The past will always hunt them. And they know it. That's why they try to get further and further away from those who they have hurt. That's why they're so quick to move on to new supply. Because in their mind, they have to forget about it. They don't want to have that constant reminder of what they've done. Because they're always on the run. You got to think about that person who you got to know pretty quickly, but when you think about it, you really didn't get to know much about them. You know, they just got all the information they needed out of you to match that, to make it sound like, oh, I think that we'll make good partners. We'll make good friends. Or maybe we should hang out. All the narcissists trying to do is survive. They live every moment trying to survive off someone else. If they see that it's something they can get out of you easy, you're going to see more and more of them. You're going to hear from them a lot. That's how they come in the beginning. They get you when you least expect it. And that's why they have to move so quickly. They need you to agree upon some things as quick as possible so they can know that they're safe where they are and they don't have to keep moving. A narcissist is going to only tell you what they want you to know, and they're going to also make it sound good, make it sound like they've done so much. And then that'll make you wonder, like, well, it should make a person wonder that, because a lot of time we don't think about that because we look at it as the normal thing. It's normal for people to relocate. It's normal for people to, not be so upfront about everything. But what happens is we still get to know who they are as the time goes by. And it shouldn't take that long. But with the narcissist, when we really look back at the history we have with the narcissist, notice how long it took before you realized a lot of stuff about them. Notice how long it took and why it took so long. It took so long because you had to dig that information up. You had to do some research. And that's if it came to mind. Because again, a lot of times we already in deep with the narcissist way before we can find out, you know, a lot of personal things, a lot of things that they should have been upfront about. We don't be thinking about it because they don't want us to think about it. They don't really want us to question things because they have to have their story together. You know, what they like to do is make it seem like, I'm just so into you. I just want to talk about you right now. You know, that's how they take your mind off of anything else. Things that you might want to ask them. It slips your mind because, you know, they don't even want you to think about that. They don't want to think about the past. They want to bury that and leave that behind. Stuff that we have every right to know about, especially when you're going into a relationship with somebody. And it takes time getting to know someone. There is no see, what the narcissists want to do is put a time frame on, okay, so how long is it going to take before, we become official? They will pressure you into making that decision right away. Or they're going to give you so much time to make your mind up. You know, if a person, if they don't have hidden, you know, they don't have hidden agendas. If they have good intentions, then what's the rush in getting to know me? Shouldn't we be taking it slow? And they don't think about that. It's best to take it slow so you can kind of get to know what you need to about that person. You want to know, you want to know as much as possible. You want to know who they are. You want to know their personality. You want to get to know their personality. And you have to be around a person around a while to really get the feel of their personality. And the narcissists know that already. They know that they are a ticking time bomb. And it's a side of them, that dark side of them, that they do not want you to know about right away unless it's heroic. Unless they're putting on some type of act in front of you so that you can be impressed by what they do, what they say, and all of that kind of stuff. And a lot of times we give it a pass. We see all the signs, all the red flags of a person who is a hothead, just a little bit too much. And it don't even have to be in their actions. It can be by the things they say. It's like, that's a red flag. It's something that I don't know about you, buddy, because you got a little bit too angry right there for something so small, so tedious. It's just not that serious to blow up all in a sudden. And that's what they do. But they'll do that in the name of, I was protecting you. Like, you don't even know me well enough to care, that much to be so heroic. But that's what they do. See, that's how they trick us in the beginning into thinking that they can be trusted. You can trust me. They trying to set a place in your life without your permission. They gonna tell you, look, I ain't going nowhere. You got me. They say stuff like, you got me, or no, they may say more of, I got you, or we together forever, or we together now. And you may kind of laugh it off like, oh, you're so silly, stuff like that. But trust and believe they're being serious. And that's not something to just blow off. You better think a little bit deeper on that. Like, something like that that'll set off an alarm with me, because first of all, slow down. you know I don't even know much about your background, things that you should know about, but you may not question right away. Of course, when you're getting to know someone in the early stages, you're not asking about somebody's background, but eventually the conversation will take place. And just by having, just talking with a person for a long time, eventually things will come up. You're gonna talk about some things that didn't happen in your life. They're gonna talk about things that happened in their life. You know, that's a part of getting to know a person. But those are the things they don't really want you to know. They want you to think that, you know, you met the one. You got the right one with them. Or they may not even say you got the right one with them. They don't care how you feel. They just want you to know that they're not going anywhere. Or you not going nowhere. And a whole while, they may be married to someone in another state, haven't got a divorce. The person can't even find them, don't know where they've moved away to. They probably been separated a long time from someone and just decided to relocate to another state. You gotta question those people that just pop up. You want to know, like, where they come from. You should want to know that. But they don't want you to ask those questions. They just want you to believe them. They just want to know as much as they can about you, so they can see what they're going to do next. Like, you know. And the more you run your mouth and give off very personal information, sharing just a little bit too much with them, they plotting. They plotting inside their mind like, oh yeah, this will be a good one right here. Oh yeah, we in the money now. Stuff like that. Let them find out that you Let them find out that you got some money coming in. You about to come into a big lump sum of money, or, you know, you've inherited some things. Yeah, those type of supply they really look for. And that's when you start to hear the narcissist say stuff like, oh, you for me. I don't want nobody but you. Like, they thrive off your kindness because you so open hearted. You so sweet. You're so nice. You're quiet. and they just sitting and just staring and with that crazy looking smile on their face. You don't know what they thinking. The whole while they plotting on what they could get their hands on. That's how they operate. That's how they are. That's the way they will always be. It's always been that way with a narcissist. A narc got their mind made up. They're not gonna, they're not gonna give up on you too easy. And they still have their eye on someone else because they're selfish and they're entitled like that. They're inconsiderate. They don't care. And the whole while you gonna go along with everything, they claim to want to have with you. You give it a try. You kind of open minded about it, and you decide, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give us a try and see how it goes. They're trying to convince you you won't be disappointed. You know, they try to smooth talk you and just convince you that you won't regret it. Because that's how they are. It's all about trying to make you think a certain way. The moment you start questioning things and having second thoughts, watch you see that smile. Watch you see them wipe the smile off their face because they get kind of scared. Like, oh, I thought I had found me a new place. Thought this was gonna be something safe for me, and they tripping because a narcissist, they don't like to be told no, and they don't like to lose control. They just feel as though, okay, everything working out smooth so far. Stuff like that. When they feel like they have control of a situation and it's all in their hands, you know, they gonna play their little role for as long as they need to. Cause remember, they still got the love bomb you. They still in the love bombing stage. So it's still so much of what they have to do to convince you that they are the one for you. Now that's the narcissist. Like, as far as getting to know a new person, you know, romantically, you know, someone that you gonna end up dating. They don't want to date. Narcissists really don't really like to put a title on things. And the reason why is because putting a title on something, labeling things, that puts rules to the narcissist. And we know how they feel about rules. They don't respect rules. The rules don't apply to them. They gonna do as they please and how they feel. And you just gotta go along with it. That's how the narcissists feel about rules. That's how they think of rules. Now, when it's some narcissist that, like people start to question, okay, in a new workplace, where they come from? And no one could really kind of like figure it out. They don't got much to go on other than they applied for a job, they qualified for whatever. And so now they on. And the thing about it with those type, they're very secretive because that's in the work field. And the thing about it is they really not gonna let you know too much about them, but things that they are known to do, things that they've done in the past, and at their old job, the things that they know can follow them through a background check. Narcissists, if they really have to get those jobs that require a background check, they might pass on it. They go for the jobs that don't really require background checks or drug tests, stuff like that. They'll be okay with the basic entry level job, something that's going to just put some change in their pocket. Because trust and believe, it doesn't matter how big or small that check is, they still going to have somebody willing to give it all up for them through their hard earned money. So you can't rely on a narcissist because they're too busy relying on you. They clocking your dollars, they counting your, clocking your pay and counting your dollars. They want to know your work schedule. Oh, they're going to keep up with stuff like that because the more they know where you are, the less you know where they are. They can maneuver and do as they please in peace. But if they get caught up, let's say you catch them off the clock. They didn't know that you are leaving work early and you catch them doing something they have no business doing. You might catch them out to eat. You might decide I'm gonna stop and get a bite to eat or go get the groceries so I can go home and cook. Cause you thinking he at work. He's supposed to be one place and he expecting you to be at work. But he's in another place. He probably haven't been to work all week. He's probably having lunch with new supply. And you just so happen to be out and about and you catch him. You confront him about it. And that's when you're going to start to see how quickly they can turn into something that you just never can imagine. And they're going to say some stuff to you that's going to blow your mind. You're going to be so shocked to hear this person speaking to you that way because who are you? Like, why are you talking to me like that? Or you might say, who you think you're talking to? Because mind you, they've been in character mode for so long, that's all you know, and that's all you expect out of them. Just like they're expecting you to just let them walk over you. But the thing about it is, they don't have no respect of your feelings. They're going to continue to do as they please. They don't feel like they should answer to anything you ask them, even though it's a respect thing. They don't care about respect. Respect went out the door when you decided you're going to give them a chance. And the narcissist, trust me, they have left a path of destruction behind them. So many people probably could tell the story of what they've been through with that same person who you allowed to come in your life way too fast, way too quickly. And I'm guilty of that. A lot of us may be guilty of that. Like, yep, I let them move in too fast. I trust them, you know. Yep, he played the game. There it goes, and I fell for it. You know, he was a sweet talker. He was the one that I thought, yeah, this the one for me. This is what I've been missing out on. This is what I've been looking for. So he really convinced you that he's different, stuff like that. And they don't even really, if you think about it, narcissists don't really say much. They just let you do all the talking. Because we make it so easy on them when that happens, when it comes to the things that we require. What we do is tell the narcissist what we want, but we never tell them what we require. We never set those standards. We probably was in the middle of a healing process from a bad breakup, which is one of the worst things to do. One of the biggest mistakes we make is jump from one situation to another before healing. We haven't even begun to heal from the last breakup when the narcissist shows up. And that's how I kind of look at it in a spiritual way. How, that Jezebel spirit filled with, you know, filled with evil, filled with just the urge to take control, you know, filled with deceit and manipulation. How that old dark, deceitful spirit, how it follows you, like it knows you now, even after you have gotten out of one bad relationship with a narcissist. It's a spiritual thing, and they follow you, and they know what you want. They know all about you already. Those spirits communicate. I spoke on that like a while back. How I feel like those spirits, they communicate, and they know when you have gotten away from one person who's possessed. So now they got to send somebody else your way. The enemy got to send somebody else your way because they can't let you go. They cannot let you go. They have this, they filled with anger, revenge, and it's just hard for them to accept the fact that you lost that one. That's not an easy thing for a narcissist to accept. I guess it's a spiritual thing to me. I start looking at it like that, like based off my own experience, that I just feel like so many of them, they come along, they come for me in the workplace more than anything. So I had been start feeling like that. And it's easier to like be targeted in a workplace because I don't have to require much about them. Now, a lot of times we do end up, developing close relationships with people in the workplace. Shoot, some people might end up getting real close with people in the workplace. And again, you may not know nothing about them as much as you think you do. You may end up hearing it through the grapevine, like, yeah, through gossip and everything. People might speak on your situation with a narcissist in the workplace. And you're thinking, well, everything been cool so far, everything's good with us, and you're planning to see them again today and tomorrow, and they just made so many plans for y'all. Meanwhile, guess what? They're married. They got somebody waiting at home for them. You just new supply. And when you find that out, you're all hurt, and you can only blame yourself because you didn't do the necessary research on this person. Now, it's one thing for them to lie to you, and then you find out through other people, oh, he lied or she lied. They're married. They got somebody at home, baby. You know. And sometimes a narcissist, they will not reveal their personal life to people who they have known for a long time. You know. Now the people don't know them, but they've known people for so long, these people do not know about them. They don't know that they've been married 2, 3, 4 times, that they have 10 children out there in different states. It's like, if you don't ask, they're not going to tell. And even if you ask, they still not going to reveal everything about them. They still not going to reveal everything about them. But I just wanted to talk about, why the narcissists always on the run. They were on the run when they met you, and they're still running while they're with you. It didn't stop at you. The same way they were able to swoop you up, they're trying to do that to somebody else as we speak. Or they will be. Don't ever consider yourself special with the narcissist. You probably felt like you were because they wanted you to feel like that. They want you to feel a certain way about them, and they need you to help them look a certain way. They need you to help them look innocent. And then a moment that you just remove yourself from them completely is when they start to destroy you. They might turn the lie around and say, oh, she knew I was married and she kept trying to get with me at work. Like I had to take some days off from work just to be away from her. They will make up a complete lie, and you know the truth. The devil is a lie and the truth ain't in them. You know they telling a lie. But because you decided to keep quiet, which is something they told you to do, don't discuss us. I like to keep my business private. Notice how they say, I like to keep my business private. I don't like nobody in my business. When you hear narcissists say stuff like that, they got a lot to hide, and they are definitely on the run. Because if you start to speak about them, chances are people are going to hear something that sounds familiar, and that's going to start a conversation and a whole big thing. And they do not want to risk the chances of being exposed through gossip, especially when they've already been on the run and they already feel like, oh, I put that behind me, I don't have that to worry about. So now they're going to be on demon time, really trying to punish you. Because they asked you, they ain't asked. They told you not to open your mouth. Don't speak about me. And you'll be thinking like, what's so special that I can't, and then that's another thing. I'm going to say this and I'm going to end it. The narcissists, they want you to just be so wowed by them. And so, of course, if you feeling a way like, oh, man, I just never thought that I'd ever have that feeling again. Like it just feels so good to just be in love again. Like, and you want to just tell it to the world, you know, and you're still in disbelief. You're shocked, but you're just like, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, but I know how I feel. And I just want people to know, boy, it's a wonderful thing to love again, but you love them. And you're in love with the idea of how you want them to love you. Because they never really fell in love with you. They fell in love with the convenience. They fell in love with, being in a safe place where they can remain hidden and private and just like off the radar. And they could trust you to keep that covered up. They target certain people. They know who to go after. When it comes to being on a run, they go for the quiet type. They go for people who are very reserved, very private. Because if you're private, then you're going to keep them private. But what I wanted to say is, it's crazy how they want you to believe that, they're the love of your life. This is what you've been waiting on. I'm here now. I got you. It's us forever. And they know that a person who's in love, they want to shout it out to the world. They want to share that. People are going to notice a difference about you. You're glowing, like, what's up with you? Look at you. You're getting your hair done now. Or, okay, well, what we got on today? This is new you. People are going to notice something different about you. And the narcissist will get angry if you speak on them. So that's the part where they contradict themselves. Like, okay, you want me to be happy about us out loud, but it's certain things. Of course, you're gonna keep private about your relationship, but why is it that you don't want me to express how I feel about you? You know, and this is when things will take a turn. This when you're gonna start really seeing who the narcissist really is, because they're gonna let you know, why you gotta be doing all that. Why? What is you talking about, love and all that? And you might be, what is you talking about? Why you got to be running your mouth and telling people, don't do all that, man. I told you I'm private. Don't discuss me with nobody. And you gonna start feeling like, dang. For a minute, I'm wondering, like, who who am I talking to? Like, what's up with this? Okay, what's going on now? Like, you questioning the way they're communicating with you because you weren't expecting that from them. But they thought they had already got you straight. They thought that there was an understanding and you was gonna, you were gonna keep things the way they wanted it to be. But you got so comfortable with what you wanted with them and you know, just how good you were feeling just to be with somebody new, start something new, and something you haven't had in a while. And that's normal. But the narcissist ain't gonna never see it like that, especially one that's on the run. Because now this might get back to their wife, who they're on the run from. It may get back to some baby mamas so that they won't get that income assignment put on them in the workplace so they can start getting that child support taken out. Like, that's the only thing starts crossing the narc's mind when you start to run your mouth. Because that's what they're going to look at it as, you running your mouth. But if you love me the way you so claim you know, like you wanted to be with me and just everything. Now it just seems like, where's all this coming from? I'm lost. You know, narcissists will have you just dazed and confused. And that's when they start to gaslight you too, because now you're questioning things and they don't want you to get to ahead of them. They don't want you to like smarten up. They don't want that light bulb to come on. They're going to try to catch you. They're going to try to fix it right quick. Do just enough to keep you, but not enough to satisfy you, not enough to say, you know what, you could trust me and I was wrong. And I promise that won't happen again. I won't ever say nothing like that again. Like, I want the world to know that I found a good thing in you too. You're not going to get that from the heart. They're going to just say, well, you know what? I did go a little bit overboard, but you got to understand, I just don't want nobody in my business. It's going to always be a but. So it's never really an apology. It's just an excuse for their behavior, their actions. Because that's what you get out of the narcissists, especially the ones that's on the run. They need to remain private at all times, even while they sucking you dry. Because it's just a matter of time before you're going to be like, okay, enough is enough. You're going to see the changes happening with this person. You're going to start to feel stressed. Your mind going to be all over the place. You're going to become forgetful. It's just a lot because they're going to be requiring so much from you and sucking you dry. Like, they are energy vampires. So you just going to, you know, you're going to have to lose it all just to start all over fresh again. And then that's when you're going to realize that you never knew who you were with. You never got to know that person unless you start to do the research and then everything comes up. Or unless people bring you the information about them. And that's when you're going to realize this who you were dealing with. And you're going to see the pattern, in their history of doing other people like that. And you just kind of put two and two together, and that's what it is. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead on and end it here. I just wanted to speak on how narcissists are always on the run and just, share some of the signs because I've been there. Moved way too fast for somebody. Let them move in way too fast. Slowly start to see the transitioning from my stuff being moved out of the house or, you know, packed and put away and their things replacing my things. And it's like everything was there with their name on it. It all belonged to them except the bills. Guess who was still paying all the bills? Me. All the bills were still in my name. I was paying every single bill until I got pregnant. And that's where the real trap comes in at, because now we have a connection. We have a lifelong connection, and it ain't going to be easy for you to just cut me off. That was their plan from the beginning. In the meantime, once things started to slowly come out, this person has so much history of doing things to people, hurting people, leaving people high and dry, destroying everything they ever had with anyone. All that just came to light. But by then, I was already in too deep and had to just kind of figure out, all right, let me get my life together. And that's how it be for you. When you trust too easy, and you move based off promises. So a lot of times they end up being empty promises, and they just there. They're just there with you, just taking up space. Hey, y'all say, hey, Felicia, yep, Nork's always running. Always on the run. Like they have double lives. You just don't know with them. You can be with a narcissist for a very, very, very long time, and it's still some dark history behind them. Trust and believe. And a lot of that stuff will turn your stomach, will make you sick once you realize who you've been dealing with. Hey, can they just say they trying to replace you in every way? Yeah, they always trying to replace you. Yep. So I'm gonna go ahead on and end it here, y'all. Thank y'all for showing up. Please like the video. Like, share, subscribe. Leave y'all thoughts down below. And I will see y'all in the next one. And yeah, they rarely change. They rarely change. Rarely. They don't. When they change, it's not in a good way, but yeah. But all right, y'all. Talk to y'all later. See y'all in the next one. Bye.